Talking about Bitcoin. This will be the second video and the last video. This is a very concise topic. In the last video, we talked about the technical jargon that is very helpful in understanding Bitcoin as a whole. Today, we're going to talk about the practical application and some of the really cool side effects that comes about by trying to use a electronic currency that is based on a peer-to-peer network form of authentication, essentially. If that doesn't make any sense, check out that last video if you haven't, or watch it again. To talk about quickly a criticism that I found, I went out and found the video with the most amount of hits, and I'll try to reply to his basic argument. That is that mediums of exchange, he believes, that are not themselves a commodity or backed by law, the coercive power of government, like the dollar bill is in the United States as legal tender, that the medium of exchange cannot possibly have any value. Sometimes when you are approaching criticisms, they're just so hard to understand how they came up with that. It's difficult to have a very meaningful reply. So I'll do my best. First off, the one just sort of general critique of his critique is that he offers no examples as to why he simply gives us this sort of statement, no, it can't happen. Unfortunately, though, we do have token systems in place, where tokens are either electronic or otherwise, that have themselves no cash value, right? We've seen that before on a number of different things, and we have traded these things for things that we wanted, and we were able to assign a value of these things based on what? Based on what we are willing to part with. If you go to Chuck E. Cheese, right? You get a bunch of tickets, you can't walk up to the cash register and say, turn these into money. They won't do that. But you can look at all the stupid little toys that they have and you can say, I want that one more than that one. They're both the same price, so I'll pick that one. The fact is, if you and I were the only ones in that economy and we both only picked that one over that one would start costing more. It's as simple as that. Prices are not an external thing. They're an internal thing. They're a projection of averages. And that's why planned markets, one reason why planned markets fail is because there isn't some magic price that will always equal the value of bread or computers or porn DVDs. I don't know, anything. They come from an internal system of value. It's an average of however much I'm willing to pay versus how much you're willing to pay, and the in between is what the price will ideally meet. It's up to, of course, the entrepreneur to try to find that average, but through supply and demand and that sort of thing, it always seems to work out more or less in a good way, so long as it's a free economy, a free market anyway. So that being said, the idea that we can't derive value from things that have no commodity basis to them or are not redeemable for cash that is fiat, meaning backed by government with a gun to our head, yes, you will accept this, would say that any token system would be would not work. We buy tokens with coins, right? We go to the arcade, we put a dollar bill, we get 4 tokens. Now, what are these things worth? They're worth no cash value. They're done. But we are able to go into the little economy there of whoever's willing to accept those tokens, namely every machine in the arcade, and we can spend our tokens however our little heart desires, just as if they were quarters. So, with that critique to the side, one very cool thing, let's talk about some really cool applications of Bitcoin. One, because the system of authentication will produce a proof of work that keeps track of every transaction in the economy of Bitcoin, you give entrepreneurs and especially small business owners, but really anyone who wants it, a tremendously powerful tool in the world of market analysis. In market analysis, it's a very expensive service to usually to get good numbers, and it's normally a statistical assumption of how much money is being spent in whatever market. And the idea, of course, is that you want to make sure that a lot of money relatively is being spent in the market where you want to invest in. Okay, that makes sense. But small business owners usually do not have access to sophisticated forms of market research. If everyone part of the network has the ledger, not some guesswork done by a mathematician, but the ledger of precisely how much money was spent in the last month in fashion or entertainment or technology, gadgetry, whatever, you would have for free a perfect market report of what's making money and what's not, meaning that it would help small business owners guard against malinvestment. That would encourage small business owners to start their businesses. That would protect small business owners from going under. That would empower small business owners. And the good thing about that is that in a free market anyway, that is the essential necessity for ingenuity to continue to churn in the system. If we always rely on the big companies, like PC, Mac, whatever, to come up with the answers, you never will have those smaller companies pop out of the ground and offer us a solution that perhaps the big guys never thought of, that is actually more practical than the things they have been spitting out at us, because they have a business plan, a formula, and a system of familiarity that perhaps overlooks the best solution to any particular problem. That's what's so cool about the free market system. It's a dynamic, and really it's like a swarm intelligence kind of a system that allows these kind of free radicals to pop up and try to populate and take over the market based on supply and demand, meaning if they're not going to take over the world and if you do not demand it. Anyway, so the idea that you would have the ledger on your desk all of the time, being updated moment to moment, is a very, very cool byproduct of this that I haven't heard anyone mention. I don't know why. That doesn't make any sense. But it would be a very strong boon to the economy if we could guard against malinvestment in that way. Another cool thing about this is that it's qualitatively a different style of security. Usually we have things like McAfee, which are, again, swarm not even swarm intelligence. It's just knee-jerk. Actually, what it is, it's that top-down model that we keep talking about, that server-client model, the relationship between PayPal and the money holder, the client. You have this intermediary all the time. So McAfee is out there, or whatever other virus protector, waiting for people to get infected with something, to be sent that information, to then reroute that information to everyone else, right? You have that hub, that nexus model again. There it is again. We're not talking about money this time. We're not talking about networks this time. We're talking about security. It's present everywhere. In fact, anarchists will probably like this, because that's essentially what the government is. If two people could just fucking get along, we wouldn't need the intermediary of the government. Okay. Or the intermediary of anything, really. We would just get along. The idea, the essential basis of a network, of course, is that you have no intermediary, that everyone is acting as both the server and the client at the same time. It's beautiful stuff. So to take that into a security kind of measure, we have a system that we have a weakness that is known, but can only be exploited in a very difficult kind of way, depending on the size of the network. This is cool because, as opposed to McAfee, which always has to wait for something to happen and then react to it, this is like a preemptive strike against things. It's a premeditated. There's another word for it. It's not coming to me. You get what I'm saying? It's something that we come up with before that will hopefully guard against. We can just set it and forget it, and it will protect against attacks here, now, and in the future. And that's very cool. It also, I think, scares people, because we know that if more than 51% of the nodes are hijacked and colluded to produce some kind of identical fraudulent record, then you and I could make ourselves millionaires and make everyone else not millionaires. Although with that would probably be, you'd have to be sneakier than that, because we would be found out. The guy next to us went to his account and said he had no money, and here Jonathan and the schmuck across the camera here has all of the money. I wonder who was in charge of that, or who was responsible for that. So they'd have to be more sneaky about it. And so long as 51% of the nodes is a tremendous amount of computer power, it seems unlikely for it to be attacked successfully. That's cool. It's just cool. It's a different way of thinking. Instead of trying to always have this like happen, okay, patch. Oh, look, another leak. Oh, patch. Another leak. Oh, patch. Why don't you just build a better ship that will only tip over if it's attacked by aliens? Just saying. So, the conclusion here is that Bitcoin is a fantastically interesting idea. The idea that we need a commodity or government to back a medium of exchange to have it have any value is bunk, because we have token systems all over the place. Some of them are real stuff. A lot of them are online. You can get tokens and credits and stuff like that to buy stuff online and buy things we do. And none of that has any cash value to it, and certainly no commodity base to it either. So besides the bunk critique there, it would also produce a proof of work that is essentially a living ledger of all the transactions in that economy, giving business owners and venture capitalists a tremendous tool in market research, one that is just free, up to date. It's always there to protect those little guys and the big guys as well, everyone, in the end, against malinvestment, which boosts the economy. And it gives us a new revolutionary form of security that is not knee-jerk patchwork kind of work, but it works on an algorithm that is very difficult to infiltrate and to attack when this system is global. That's my report on Bitcoin. I hope you guys liked it. Shoot me some more requests. This was fun.